Yo, what is going on? Today I'm going to be doing the creator commentary for, you already know, it's in the title. Real quickly before we actually get into the commentary, I do want to discuss some things about the future of this series or whatever. I'm in a weird spot with it where it's on one hand, I want to give it a lot of time and effort because people are paying. You guys are paying for these episodes. Ow. On the other hand, I also did make a promise to everyone when I started my memberships that the membership stuff wouldn't be taking away time from the main channel stuff. So I'm gonna try to keep finding that balance here. Another thing before we get in, just thought I'd share a little bit. I've got my water, my sugar in a can. It's Arizona green tea. It doesn't really show up very well with the green screen. And Diet Dr. Pepper. I don't know why, whenever I'm streaming or recording or anything, I like to have an array of drinks. Let's do some ASMR here. Beautiful. That was the Diet Dr. Pepper. How's the Arizona hold up comparatively? Honestly, the Diet Dr. Pepper kind of won, if you ask me. Yikes. That's a yikes for Arizona. Sugar in a bottle. Anyways, let's actually get into this video. So a few opening thoughts. This video actually wasn't my second or third Super Mario Sunshine specific or Sunshine Experiments video even. In between this, I made 2 episodes about barrels, but then those 2 episodes got taken down, unlisted actually, and remade into the current Sunshine Experiments barrels video that is on the channel. And I believe that will be the next video that I'm going to make a creator commentary on. Yeah, I didn't know if I should do this video next or do the barrel one next. I'll do the barrel one next time, and do this one now. The save file in weird circumstances. The save file select in weird circumstances, that is. So there is a slight bit of evolution here. With the 2 barrel episodes that I originally did was when I was starting to try and write a little bit of storytelling into my scripts. And the way I try to tell these stories in the early days of Sunshine Experiments, is that I would try to tell a story through my process of discovering everything. I think that's not a bad idea, but what it leads to is a lot of useless information and retread ground, and I think it held back these videos a little bit, which we're gonna see here with the save file select Super Mario Sunshine Experiments video. So without further ado, let's start.
So the topic for today's Sunshine Experiments is the save file select screen. The file select screen, or option as it's referred
I really
to
didn't edit my voiceovers at all.
Sunshine, is a super intriguing area.
Oh yeah, by the way, there actually are 2 option.scss's in Super Mario Sunshine. There's this one, and then it's the pause menu. There's something else called option.scs.
Of the game. You see, Mario is stuck in a 2D environment here, unlike anywhere else in the actual game.
Yeah, it actually is super unlike
moveset is quite
else.
Watered down here, as he's basically limited.
Fun fact here, and I'll touch on this a little bit later in the video. Nintendo didn't use traditional collision for the walls here at all, except for a spot right here. There's a wall that comes up by the palm tree. Otherwise, I think Mario is just hard-coded to not be able to pass a certain X, Y, or Z, and I don't know why. It's cool though, because it lets you triple jump and stuff against them, which is what Super Dude Sunshine uses.
To jumping, ground pounding, and of course, walking and running. Unfortunately, that will come to hinder our experiments here, but that's okay, since there's still plenty of weird things and interesting observations to be discovered.
That's a weird way to word that. It's not that it hinders the experiments, it's that it makes the findings less interesting, or what you can do less interesting, which isn't synonyms, I promise.
Here. The first thing I wanted to test if I could even spawn quote-unquote foreign objects into the level select, which I could. And the first object I decided to spawn was a barrel, which leads to the first observation, either...
This is crazy. I don't remember what was going through my head. Seeing Mario clearly levitate above the barrel here. So for those who don't know, I discovered this in the invisible barrel video I did. Barrels, when you place them down in what's called the bin editor, it's where you place down certain objects of the game like Piantas, Nokis, barrels, nozzle boxes, all of that. It's basically where you place everything that isn't the map. Now I have to go let my dog out of my room. Oh my god, somebody subscribed while I think that was the subscription thing. While I was letting my dog out of my room. But yeah, anyways, where you place the barrel, basically Sunshine has this thing where there are a lot of objects. If you place them in the air, they'll snap to the ground when they load in or fall. So NPCs will like fall to the ground. Barrels will snap to the ground. There's also this bug in Sunshine where the top collision of the barrel doesn't like update properly unless I forget what the exact criteria is. Like it almost never updates properly, actually. So what's happening here is that I placed the barrel in the bin editor slightly too high up, and the barrel teleported down, but the collision for its top didn't, the part you can stand on. I didn't know that at the time. I don't know what was going through my head at this. I was still new to Sunshine, the technical side of Sunshine, that is. So I probably just assumed it was some like weird byproduct of it being on the save file select. I don't know.
Their normal objects appear to be bigger here, or Mario is smaller. You can see this with the rocket now.
This is a weird section of the video. I'm gonna let it play out for us before talking about it.
Puzzle box here as well. Now, I racked my brain for a while on why this weird scaling is happening and how, but there was nothing in the level file to indicate the scale change was happening. But as tends to happen,
I still have this graphic.
Nothing was changing size, it was just perspective. Now, I don't know, this may have seemed really obvious to some people, but to me, this blew my mind. I always knew that Mario seems small in the game, but man, once you see everything from eye level, it just becomes that much more obvious how small Mario really is. I mean, look at how the nozzle box towers over him. I was somehow expecting the nozzle boxes to be about the same size as the save file blocks.
Man.
Anyways, that...
Okay. I could have done that you heard this like a couple of times, I think, in the Shine Sprite experiments video, and I'm gonna say it again. I could have done that section in like 10 seconds or less. If I made this video nowadays, I probably would have said something like, and oh man, isn't it weird how big things seem on the file select? It's just perspective, but this kind of blew my mind. Something like that. That's like a rough estimate of what I'd say. So this still like kind of doesn't boggle my mind, but still like amazes me. I remember being gobsmacked, I guess is the word to use there, by this. Like this actually had me confused for quite a while. Like why do things seem bigger on the file select? And of course, it's just the perspective. So like I was saying at the beginning of this video, me doing storytelling through like my discovery process of everything, I think it is an interesting angle. It's just, it leads to stuff like this where I'm, for however long that was, yapping about the size of things on the file select. That's not that interesting.
That aside, let's actually get into the barrel from before. The barrel was honestly nothing interesting. Since Mario can't pick things up in the save select screen, the only meaningful interaction is to ground pound it, which makes the barrel behave exactly as you would expect it to.
So this is a problem I would often have in earlier Shine Sprites, or not Shine Sprites, Sunshine experiments videos, which is I want to talk about everything I found, but sometimes some things are just not that worth talking about. And so my solution to this is to basically add like a lightning round section. So if you've watched the Cutscene Iceberg video, which chances are you did, it is my most viewed video. Instead of taking time to discuss all these like little things that aren't really that interesting, just having them in a shotgun rapid section where it's like, okay, barrels, you can't really interact with them, but you can still ground pound them, and yada yada yada. I think that type of format really suits these videos a lot better. It's a lot more engaging, a lot more interesting, and nothing's really lost. In fact, stuff is only gained, that stuff being time. Instead of me yapping on about barrels and how they are kind of not that interesting, but I'm gonna tell you about them anyways. I just spent, you know, like 5 seconds in a lightning round shotgun section of the video telling you everything interesting about it. Mildly interesting, even.
It's basically all I have for barrels at the moment, but on the other hand, there's a rocket nozzle box I promised to get to. The nozzle box also behaves exactly as you would expect. The reason that's in full contrast to the barrel is because that's actually super interesting here, as that provides Mario a way to access FLUDD, whereas you normally wouldn't have it here.
I was just trying to go with a parallel there with the script, because I said something like the barrel behaves exactly as you'd expect, so it's not that interesting. Meanwhile, the nozzle box behaves exactly as you'd expect, but that is interesting. I think that's actually a fun little touch I did in the script, despite of what I just went on a rant about a minute ago.
Now, you might have noticed that the normal UI that appears to tell you how much water is left in FLUDD doesn't appear, but that doesn't mean Mario gets unlimited water. The normal water limit still exists. On a similar note, I wanted to see
just say the same thing twice
if you could
there.
Perform rocket storage here. Well, it's a little harder to do for me since I normally
I should have describe what rocket storage is here. I always go out of my way to describe anything that isn't immediately obvious in the game, such as glitches. I was kind of just making videos back then just because I found this stuff interesting, and I thought I should publish my findings. Nowadays, my motivation for making stuff is actually kind of different. Like, there is still that motivation of I find this stuff interesting. I would make videos on topics I don't find interesting, quite frankly. I wouldn't be able to finish making videos that is of quality because I'd just like burn out halfway through because I'm not interested. And what I really want to do with Angry Max, the channel, is show people like the kind of like beauty of this game. And I'm gonna rant about my Super Mario Sunshine versus 64 thing that I like to rant about all the time. Actually, I'll keep it very brief, but basically my sort of stance on it is like Super Mario 64 is a very buggy game and it's very like celebrated. People love all the bugs. People love to dissect every bug in the game, even the bugs that are very bad towards your average gameplay experience. Meanwhile, Sunshine, it's like for some reason it's very much the opposite. Every time there's a bug, oh man, this game is so broken, it sucks, it blah 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 blah. Obviously there are a lot of people who aren't like that, who do appreciate the game for what it is, but I want my channel to be a sort of entry point to kind of show people the beauty of Sunshine and how broken it is and how it works on the inside, yada 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 yada, how cool the movement is, how cool the speedrun is, so on and so forth. So to that end, that is why nowadays I would describe what rocket storage is, even though there's a pretty good chance at least half the people watching already know what rocket storage is, and if they don't, they can go look it up. So yeah, I thought it would be interesting to kind of dissect why I would actually change a thing instead of saying I just would. So there that is.
Use the UI to perform the glitch, it still works as expected here. One last thing to note with this is that on the options section of this area, I found that Mario just being in the air.
Yeah, by the way, let me rewind that a little bit.
I normally use the UI to perform the glitch, it still works as expected here.
So I didn't know about the invisible wall here. So this was the invisible wall I was talking about. I have a moon jump code on, which means I can just keep pressing the A button to keep jumping, basically, even when I'm in the air as Mario. The invisible wall blocks you from just being able to jump on the nozzle box right here, so I had to go all the way over it, because it does have a limit to how high it goes to open up the rocket nozzle box, which is what you see here.
Last thing to note with this is that on the options section of this area, I found that Mario just being in the air is what the game looks for to select options. Normally,
which is honestly very interesting. Very, very interesting.
Normally you jump here or press the A button to select things. Now, while the rocket nozzle was all fun and good, let's go on to something a bit more interesting.
The turbo nozzle.
Actually, first, let's really quickly get into one thing that I couldn't get working. For some reason, spawning in a Yoshi egg is just impossible. No matter what I did, the egg wouldn't appear. The game wasn't crashing or anything. Yoshi just didn't want to make an appearance, I suppose. Okay, now...
Okay, I don't know if you could tell, but that section was kind of spliced into the script. I don't know if it was last minute, but relatively late. At least with not much thought given into it. And my goal there was to set a seed for like storytelling, I guess, but it wasn't executed very well. It's not being made clear that there's a payoff, you know? I think that's a sort of key thing about having payoffs in storytelling, is that you need to make it clear that there will be a payoff or that you're working towards a payoff. Me just mentioning that there's a Yoshi egg and I couldn't get it to work. I might as well just not mention that at all and just gone on about the Yoshi section later on in the video, because no one was sitting there going, I bet later in the video he's gonna find a way to make it work. I'd say an example of me doing that but much better is in the Rocket Super Mario Sunshine Experience video, which also had to do with Yoshi.
That only enemies play in this game. Oh yeah, not to mention that the game's code also treats rockets as enemies at points. Now Yoshi, you wait right there, we're not done with you yet. I still have something cool to show them. However, one of the strangest things, for some reason, look who finally decided to show up. Perfect timing too, I may add. Because just like with all the other nozzles, Yoshi's mouth can hold a water rocket too. The most interesting part about this is by applying the knowledge from the beginning of the video, we actually have a portable platform anywhere we want it.
Oh yeah, by the way, actually, interesting thing about this, by the way, this was also before I found the no water reflections code, which I have mixed feelings on, because in Serena here, the water reflection is really good. It looks really nice. It's really pretty. On the downside, I had to very carefully line this up because the way water reflections work in Dolphin FreeCam is they're based off of where the in-game camera is, not where the Dolphin FreeCam camera is, if that makes sense. So reflections look really bad most of the time when you're in Dolphin FreeCam. Although I actually am looking into a solution to that, which is to use the better Sunshine Engine debug mode to help record some footage, which I think is going to be pretty cool. Anyways,
Time to get into something a bit more interesting, for real this time. Shine sprites. I may have already made a full video about
yeah,
shine
wait, you can actually see exactly what I was talking about with the water reflections right there. Look at the water pools behind the Shine Gate.
Shine sprites. I may have already made a full video
Yeah.
about shine
So I'm in FreeCam right now.
sprites
Yeah.
in weird circumstances, but as it turns out, there's still at least one more strange location we can place one. If you somehow hadn't guessed already, it's of course a safe select level.
Obviously.
So there's a few pretty specific things we can do with the shine sprites.
Dude, I really took my time with the scripts, and both in terms of not editing out all like the dead space in between sentences and words and stuff, but also just because I would write scripts really slowly. I wouldn't like edit scripts. I didn't think about how entertaining they would be, at least to the extent I do now.
Here. So to start off simple, Mario is going to start off by just collecting the shine sprite before doing anything else. Upon collecting the shine, the normal save prompt doesn't pop up, but
I do want to also mention, this is a realization I only had very recently while editing the cutscene iceberg video, which is that in the old days, I used to love the music that's playing in the video right now, Brinstar Lower Depths. I used to love adding that to my videos. And over time, I started struggling more and more to find places to put that song. I kind of wanted to include like a Super Metroid song in every video. I haven't even played all the way through Super Metroid. I just love the OST. The point I'm trying to make is that what I finally was able to put into words of why I can't add this song, or I have a harder time adding Brinstar Depths, Lower Brinstar Depths into videos nowadays versus back then. It's just because the tone of my videos is completely different, largely because of how I talk. So you compare this video to, let's say, the cutscene iceberg video, there is a world of difference in the energy of my voice. And to kind of go beyond just like implicitly saying it, the Brinstar Depth song is a very slow, lower energy song that slowly builds. And yeah, sometimes I can find places to fit it. I think I did in the cutscene iceberg video, maybe, I don't remember. That's just something I kind of wanted to share. I don't know how interesting that is, but yeah.
instead a text box that basically states the game can't save. After that, the cutscene that plays out after getting the first shine sprite from the airstrip plays out. And finally, we're put into the plaza. And finally, we're put into the first plaza. Now, you'll notice that Mario only has a single shine sprite in his collection, which obviously is the one we just collected. Additionally, if we go and try to collect another shine sprite,
Yep.
or even a blue coin, the usual save prompt will appear. It even says that you're on save file A, however, you can never fully save. Now,
What was that delivery?
combined with the fact that save file A on this memory card has way more shine sprites on it,
You
leads
can
to the
hear me
resemblance
adjusting in my chair right there.
can never fully save. Now, that combined with the fact that save file A on this memory card has way more shine sprites on it leads to the reasonable assumption that we're actually playing on a ghost save file. What I'm saying is that we're not actually on save file
This
A,
was really
despite
cool
the game telling us we are.
to discover.
In this state, Mario's free to do anything as normal, you know, beat the game even, but nothing he does will ever save. There is one
Yeah, it's I don't think I ever properly enunciated this distinction. It's kind of like playing without a memory card, except that the game tells you you are on a save file, if that makes sense. That's basically it.
interesting caveat, however. If we soft reset, aka pressing the reset button on the console, the ghost
Or pressing A plus B plus X. Or no, wait, it's start plus B plus X. I forgot what this actually. Yeah, it's start plus B plus X. I had to pick up my GameCube controller there to remember the exact button combination. It's so ingrained in muscle memory.
the ghost save file will actually persist. The best way to demonstrate this is by showing you that after a soft reset, the shine sprite
I think the best way to describe this, in a way I probably would describe this maybe in a little bit more detail, is that The game only changes your save file when you select a save, basically. That's the only time the game changes your save file. If you don't ever choose a save file, that means you're on like save file 0, basically, which it calls A because it doesn't have an icon for save file 0.
We collected on the file select is no longer golden, which of course means it's already been collected. And just to further prove the ghost save file doesn't even save any progress, here you see Mario with 2 shine sprites and a blue coin on a ghost save file.
All of this is making me want to make a remake of this episode as well, along with the Shine Sprites episode.
And to drive the point further, if we hard reset the console, aka actually turning on and off the console, the Shine Sprite is once again golden.
Yeah.
Now, after a hard reset, if Mario goes back to the
It's
ghost file,
the same-ish thing as playing without a memory card.
by collecting the Shine Sprite on the save select, you can see he only has 1 Shine Sprite and no blue coins. If all those words are a bit confusing,
What was that, dude? Something blue coins. Like, did you hear that? Hold on, let me rewind that.
you can see he only has 1 Shine Sprite and no blue coins. If all
Dude, okay. This is actually so funny because I think the next video after this was my Barrels remake video. I don't know if that's true, but in the Barrels remake video, I think was when I started actually editing my voiceovers and like taking out like the gaps and breaths and stuff. The way that actually initially manifested was like through a lot of self-consciousness of like the breathing. Like, I don't know why I very suddenly became very harder on myself for how I like breathed into the mic. It was kind of weird. Part of that actually is that like I have asthma, so I'm a heavy breather. I'm also, you know, overweight, to put it bluntly. So yeah, I'm a heavy breather. So I think I was a bit more self-conscious about this in the past, but it actually, that self-consciousness I've kind of gotten over. And it also led to me making better like edits and stuff. So not really, I don't see the negative there.
those words are a bit confusing, that's okay. For a quick summary, if Mario collects a Shine Sprite on the save,
I actually really like the idea with the context of this video of going over a recap, because we just went over very complex, or not very complex, but like a somewhat complex set of things. However, I don't like how I did this recap because one, I just did like text on screen. I prefer to visually show like a recap of everything, right? However, if I were to write the script today, like from scratch, there wouldn't be a recap because I would make sure to explain everything in a acceptable way the first time around. Actually, I guess it depends. I might still do a recap. I don't know. It's weird. It depends on once I'm writing the script and thinking about how I can present the information and so on.
select screen, then he goes to a ghost and no blue coins. If all those words are a bit confusing, that's okay. For a quick summary, if Mario collects a Shine Sprite on the save select screen, then he goes to a ghost save file. A save file where his progress can never...
Slight correction with that, by the way. It's not that collecting the shine puts Mario into a ghost to save file. He starts in a ghost to save file because he's never selected a save block. And then if you collect the shine, you get put in the plaza again without ever selecting a ghost, or without ever selecting a save block, which means you're never taken off the ghost to save. It's more like a placeholder save, I think is a better way to put it, or dummy save.
be saved. However, the progress on this ghost file won't be erased unless the console you're playing on is fully powered off, or if Mario Sunshine is completely just turned off.
Also, by the way, that's wrong. That's there is another way to reset that, which is by selecting a save file block. That's loud.
I just wanted to recap that because we're about to go a bit deeper into this concept, and this next part of the video is going to end up being pretty important. Okay, so let's get back to where we were. So after realizing that soft resetting doesn't wipe the ghost save, I had a theory, and that theory was Sunshine doesn't ever change save files unless you select them from the save select screen. Now,
See, I had that conclusion. I already knew that. I just, for some reason, didn't put it into words. I don't know why. I think the real takeaway here is that I just wasn't as thorough with my script and actual understanding of the subject I was talking about back then as I am now. Although I still make mistakes. Like I made a few mistakes on the cutscene iceberg video, which I made it short about.
May seem like an obvious statement, but let me paint a picture to you for why that's important. As a way to test my theory, I selected save file B after a hard reset, of course, soft reset the game, then collected the shine sprite on the save select screen. And once you know it, I got a prompt to save the shine sprite to save file B. And just to further confirm that theory, if Mario's progress is saved after collecting that shine, hard resets, selects file B, then soft resets.
Actually, slowly run that. I actually remember at the time of making this video being not satisfied with this. Like, I'm just putting a bunch of words on screen. I don't think this actually makes this any more readable. I just didn't know how to like visually show this on screen, but I at least was like thinking about it. I think the better way to do this, by the way, is as I'm reading each thing off here, have it fade in. If I still had this screen, of course, I'd probably change this entire screen from the ground up when giving this like recap of the order of events, but yeah.
Mario's progress is saved after collecting that shine, hard resets, selects file B, then soft resets. The save select shine won't be golden. Basically what I'm saying is that you can access the save select screen while still technically on a save file. Of course, this probably doesn't have any meaningful applications to the vanilla game. In fact, I'm pretty confident it doesn't, but it still actually turned out to be useful knowledge for a later part of this video. Also, just as a side note, an interesting side effect of selecting a save file means you can't access the ghost save file unless you hard reset. Not really that important of a piece of trivia, but it's still interesting. At least to me. Okay, two last things before we get to the super interesting part.
Not really a piece of trivia, to be honest. It's just like a natural effect of how it all works, I guess.
First of all, we're going to talk about save.
And that's what I was explaining earlier. Like, that's just something that should be implicitly described with everything.
Blocks. Naturally, the first thing I tried with them was to load them into Delfino Plaza. To my surprise, they don't actually crash the game, and they're still sort of interactable.
So, they do crash the game on console. And if on Dolphin you don't have like show panic handlers or whatever setting enabled, basically what that's to say is that Dolphin is like smart enough that there are certain like crashes that can happen that you can just tell Dolphin to ignore because it's actually not fatal to the running of the game or the program. Whereas the Wii or GameCube would immediately say, uh-oh, panic, something didn't go right. Some piece of memory got written somewhere it wasn't supposed to or whatever, so on and so forth. And the game would just crash then for safety reasons, I presume, so it doesn't like break your save file or something. I don't know. It's like a safety precaution, I guess.
But that, I mean, you can actually hit the save block and it does its proper animation too. However, you can't load a save after hitting it. I tried to see if I could get it to work fully, but the closest I got was some error prompts after hitting the save block. Additionally, I tried something a little strange. On the save select screen, I made all the save blocks take up the same space.
7 p.m. from Animal Crossing New Leaf, which is the song that's playing right now in the video. Extremely similar situation with this song as with Brinstar Depths, as I was talking about earlier. It's a lower energy song that I have a hard time putting into videos nowadays.
As I was curious to see what would happen. As it turns out, if Mario hits all 3 save blocks at once, only one will ever be selected. The kind of cool thing about this is the save block that corresponds to the earliest letter in the alphabet is the one that's selected. So A will always be selected over B and C, B will always be selected over C, and C.
I honestly figured it would be completely random, but no, there is a rhyme or reason to it, which probably just has to do with code order, honestly. Probably in the game's code, it checks for save file A first, then save file B, then save file C. So if you imagine like my finger points to each line of code, then it runs that line of code. Here, I'll try to edit something in here. Here's a section up here for save file A, here's a section down here for save file B, here's a section down here for save file C. When the game gets to this part of the code, since save file A is first on the list, it won't check for save file B or C because it'll hit save file A, then it'll tell the code to do something else somewhere else down the line, if that makes sense. I don't even know if that's the case. Actually, that's just my assumption here of why save file A is always selected before save file B and C, and B is selected before C, but anyways.
E can only be selected when it's in its default state, not intersecting the other save blocks. And the last thing before we get to the really interesting part is fruit. Or rather,
vocal compression. What's that?
Since you can't pick up the fruit, the only interactable fruit is the durian, and it acts exactly...
Which is wrong, by the way. The only interactable fruit is not the durian, and I even show it later in the video. I don't know why I kept that in the script.
Is expected, except that it seems to be able to go through the invisible walls. It keeps Mario from exploring the...
Yeah, this, by the way, this has to do more with what I was saying like way earlier at the beginning of this video, which is the invisible walls here aren't actually like walls in the traditional sense that Sunshine ever uses walls. It's like a code thing. It's like hard coding Mario to not be able to pass. Usually with walls and stuff, it's actually like a 3D modeled piece of geometry, if that makes sense. I don't know. It's really weird. I guess they didn't want you wall jumping, maybe. I don't know. But there are like non-wall jump walls in the game anyways, so that they use all the time. It's actually really annoying because there are some places where it's like they're used kind of randomly. I don't know, man.
Level. I didn't find anything else out about this, so let's move on.
Kind of. If I just move on, that's like implicit, right? You don't have to say, I didn't find anything out about this, so let's move on. If I just move on, then the viewer will implicitly understand that that's the case, that there's nothing else to talk about with the durian. And also, by the way, typo, Marion in Luigi Bowser's Inside Story. There should be a colon there as well.
Remember the part about Yoshi's egg earlier? How I couldn't get it to spawn? Well, I had an idea about that while I was actually writing this script. You see,
that makes me sad. I used to have a browser plugin that made Google Docs have a dark mode where everything would be gray. A lot easier on my eyes. I don't like a lot of bright white coming at my eyes at once. I don't use it anymore because the browser plugin got an update at some point where all of a sudden it was asking for really weird permissions, like it was trying to harvest my data, basically. Like stuff it didn't need to know, like what websites I go to, and I don't know, it was weird. I forget what exactly it was, but it was asking for like some really like creepy permissions that I didn't need to know.
While I was actually writing this script. You see, after I would place a Yoshi egg on the file select screen, it just wouldn't appear. This is strange because no other.
So, why am I explaining this again? I explained it earlier in the video. I set myself up for this specifically, and yet I'm explaining it again. Very strange. Very strange.
Object acts like this when they fail to spawn it.
Basically, I was new to script writing and I wasn't giving it a lot of critical thought, is the kind of way to think about that now.
They fail to spawn it, as the usual behavior is that the game will just never load the level the object is in. So
it's no longer an accurate visual visual representation because you put text on screen, idiot.
Behavior is that the game will just never load the level the object is in. So again, it hit me. What if the Yoshi egg never spawned because it was never unlocked? Since the level select technically starts on the aforementioned Ghost save file, it would only be natural that Yoshi isn't unlocked. To sort of prove that my line of thinking was correct, I loaded save file B with a cheat code that sends Mario to the final plaza of the game, and just
the kind of through line of this video and the story I was trying to tell, and the lesson, I guess, for me to learn from this video was that don't use cheat codes that very much change the way the game behaves when trying to scientifically, not really scientifically, but when trying to test things and learn new things about the game.
Despite that cheat code, Yoshi was nowhere to be found. So after getting confirmation that Yoshi will only spawn once he's been properly unlocked, I reloaded the game, this time with a cheat code that unlocks Yoshi, and nothing. Despite this, Yoshi still spawned in the final plaza, so it's not like the cheat code wasn't working. I'm not gonna lie, I was actually feeling a little defeated after that, but
I wonder why that's the case. That just seemed weird. That the unlock Yoshi cheat code didn't work on the options screen, but it did work on the plaza. It doesn't manually do it for each Yoshi, does it? That would be insane.
I still had one more Hail Mary in my playbook. To unlock Yoshi the legitimate way. Mostly legit anyways.
Awesome gasp, dude. I think I did multiple takes of that gasp.
To unlock Yoshi the legitimate way.
I couldn't get it sounding good. That's how you'd want it to sound. Not just like a breath, like a sharp breath in. You want to give it like a curve to it, like a like that. I don't even know if that's good, but I assume that's better than what I did.
Mostly legit anyways. So, for those of you who aren't aware, to unlock Yoshi, Mario must complete episode 4, The Wilted Sunflowers. So I did that, and Shadow Mario didn't show up to the plaza with his stolen egg.
Part of that, by the way, is because this is the final plaza of the game, and Shadow Mario doesn't show up in the final plaza of the game. So Shadow Mario is never coded, I guess, for lack of a better word. to appear in the post-game plaza, which is the plaza I'm in.
Okay. So maybe I had to actually properly unlock Pinna Park first was my next thought, which means I need.
Okay, so my whole train of thought here was like, it brought me to the right conclusion, but in the wrong manner. It's kind of weird. It's like I ended up in the right destination, but took the wrong path. It's a very, very weird thing that happened here. I'll explain after this section of the video is done.
To first get 10 shine sprites. So I did that and then experienced a case of deja vu. As a last ditch effort, I decided that maybe somehow the always spawn in the final plaza cheat code was messing with my mission. And once I loaded into the proper plaza, I had a so-called aha moment. Yeah, so I actually didn't even have Bianco Hills legitimately unlocked on the save file. So I unlocked Bianco Hills, which then meant I had to unlock Rico Harbor, followed by Gelato Beach. And after that, I properly unlocked Pinna Park, and upon going to Pinna, reloading the save, reloading back to the plaza, Shadow Mario finally showed up with Yoshi's Egg. Even if all of this was a big inconvenience, I actually learned something about the game, which is the full unlock criteria for Yoshi. It's just...
Yeah, okay, so this is technically wrong, but also technically right. So my takeaway here was that internally, the game is looking for all of these things before you can unlock Yoshi, which was weird to me because you shouldn't be able to do Pinna 4 without having Bianco, Rico, and Gelato. Here's the thing. I would have to test this, but I'm pretty sure if I had a code that spawned me in the like mid-game plaza, let's say the Noki unlock plaza, cheated my way to Pinna 4 and completed Pinna 4, then Shadow Mario would spawn, even if I hadn't technically unlocked Bianco, Rico, and Gelato. Whereas my assumption at the time would not have been that after loading all of this.
Just that in a normal playthrough of the game, you never would be able to do Pinna 4 without doing everything else beforehand. Anyways, so I pried Yoshi's Egg back from Shadow Mario, then, with my...
Yeah, so basically another way to word all that, where this misunderstanding came from, is that I didn't realize Shadow Mario with Yoshi would never spawn in the final plaza of the game. Basically, what I really needed to do was work my way to a plaza where Shadow Mario would spawn with the Yoshi Egg. That's basically the gist of what's going on here.
Much anticipation, soft reset my game, and, well, listen for yourself.
I like this bit.
If you couldn't tell, I had Yoshi's Egg right next to the durian from before, so
really?
As the game loaded up, we got to hear that amazing sound. Anyways, after making a setup for Mario to be able to push a banana to Yoshi with FLUDD, we finally did it. Mario is now reunited with his good friend Yoshi.
That's what I was talking about earlier. You are interactable with FLUDD on the save file select screen, if you get FLUDD, of course, which won't happen in vanilla circumstances.
Once Mario is on Yoshi, there isn't really much the bear can do since the B button still is disabled. And unfortunately, loading into a save while Mario is riding Yoshi doesn't really do anything cool or special. So, you might be asking me,
I need to use more Animal Crossing music in my videos.
Was all of this worth it? Well, yes, actually. If there isn't really that much to do with Yoshi on the file select screen, the process of getting there really was the reward. Learning that the game doesn't technically take you out of a save file when you soft reset while I was studying the ghost saves, learning the true unlock criteria for Yoshi, learning all this other stuff about modding Sunshine and how the game internally works. It's just unbelievably incredible and exciting and rewarding. And then even being able to share it with an albeit small crowd of people still makes it all the better. And
bigger crowd
that
nowadays,
kind of is the point of the series, I suppose. Anyways, if you enjoyed the video, showing any amount of support, whether that be a like...
That's the plugs and stuff. One thing I will say, I watched this video once right before recording this, just so I could make sure I have some of my thoughts in place. When listening to that section on that first watch through, before I was doing the recording, I got like goosebumps listening to that. Because it is true, like, to what end am I... To what, like, useful, practical end am I discovering any of this stuff? None. There's no speedrun discovery that I know of. I mean, maybe in the future, but, you know, there's no speedrun discovery. There's no any other type of discovery that this information is leading to. However, it's kind of hard to put into words, in a way that I didn't just say, past me didn't just say in the video. But basically doing this like weird, useless research and coming to these conclusions after a lot of work. This video took me like a month to make or something like that, which was way longer than anything else I'd done, I'm pretty sure. Doing all of that and then making something out of that, a creative work out of that, is, I don't know, it's just fulfilling. And I definitely still have that feeling nowadays, as Past Me did. Yeah.
Subscribe or comment helps me out tremendously given the size of my channel. I put a lot more time in this than I ever was meaning, so it actually does mean a lot if you really choose to show some.
Yeah, it was like a month, a little more than a month, I think, which I can actually show you. So this is the script, by the way, I should say. If we go to version history, see version history. Yeah, so I began working on it in December, basically. And the video came out on the 16th of January. So I began it in December, came out on January. It took a little over a month. So that's kind of the point I was trying to make. I don't think any video had taken me a month up to this point of like actual research and then script writing and then recording and then editing. So yeah, this was, in that regard, one of the first, I'd say, productions that really kind of resembles something more modern from the Angry Max lineage of videos. By the way, if you're an upcoming YouTuber or whatever, don't plug all your stuff at the end. People just click off. It's bad for your retention. But yeah, anyways, that's the whole video, or is it? As it turns out, there actually was one section at the beginning of the video that I mostly cut out, which was that I was going over some mistakes I made in the previous barrels video, but then I ended up cutting this out via the YouTube editor. You can like cut out segments of your videos later in YouTube. So there was originally a section where I basically was saying I made a mistake about the barrel displacement glitch. And I cut this off for two reasons. One, I made the barrel episode barrels redux, so I fixed all those mistakes. Presumably, I could have made more mistakes, I don't know. But the big thing that I like kind of like when watching this video like a year or two ago, I watched back and felt kind of ashamed of this, where so one of the mistakes I made in the original barrel video was I didn't know barrel stacking existed, so I thought I discovered it, one. And two, I gave it a name called BDG, which was short for barrel displacement glitch. I can't talk right now. Hold on, let me get some water. I liked how BDG sounded better than barrel stacking, so I basically said, like, here, I'm still going to call it the BDG instead of barrel stacking, even though I'm not the one who discovered it or whatever, yada, yada, yada. And also because I think BDG makes more sense. I think that's kind of disrespectful. So I take that back. I'll formally take that back now. I kind of just cut it out of the video. But yeah, I call it barrel stacking now. I think that is everything I wanted to say here. So I'm gonna leave off with one more thing. The goal this time is to make this a little bit better than the last one. Hopefully that's the case. I'm gonna add in music during the parts where I'm talking. Maybe add some edits on screen and such. Here's hoping. Because I said I'd release it on the 15th, and which is in 2 days. I'm recording this on Monday. And I had forgotten when I originally said I'm going to record this on the 15th. So my plan was to record this on like Saturday and then get it ready by Wednesday. I had forgotten I had committed to going on a road trip with some family members for the weekend. So now I'm 2 days down from the original time I allocated for this video. That's going to be it. Thank you for watching. Thank you, members. I super greatly appreciate you supporting my channel monetarily, especially as a tier 2. And yeah. Later. Yo, bonus segment. I forgot to mention this, but I didn't want to go over the thumbnail of this episode because it's basically the same as the Shine Sprites Experiments thumbnail. But I might as well say one thing. There's a hidden barrel in here. If you've never noticed that, there's a hidden barrel. Yeah. Peace.